Welcome to Hive Mind. This is Edge with my co-host Speaker. How are you, Speaker?
Hola,
Hola.
what's happening?
What's going on?
Oh yeah, getting back to the real world sort of with not having Twitter, so I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm so
Right.
out of the loop, man.
I know, man. Twitter took you down, didn't
Yeah,
they?
they did, they did. But
Mm.
when these sort of things happen, you got to try to find the positive, and just there's nothing you can do about it. So you just got to work around it. I'm
Yeah, we'll
gonna
keep
give
moving.
myself, yeah, I'll give myself a couple of days, and then see how it goes. Maybe, you know, with that going down, it might give me some more time to work on content, maybe. So you always got to try to look at the positive.
Yeah, we'll work around it. And for our listeners out there, so Twitter took Speaker down. He's been suspended, but we are on multiple other platforms, and I'm going to tell everybody up front about that. If we ever get taken down from any one platform, you can always find us on other platforms, and it's all centrally located on our website, which is hivemind.com. That's H1vem1nd.com. And if you go to the social tab, you will see all of the platforms that we are located on. So you can always connect with Speaker, whether it's on Parler or Gab or other places. And we'll stay here on YouTube as long as we can, but we're also on BitChute as well as others. So
There's one thing everyone listening should know about us is that we're never going away. We've come too far. We're in this for the long run. It doesn't matter how they take us down or where they take us down. We're always going to keep popping back up because, we're building a decent base and people that are supporting us in different ways. And it's like, well, when those sort of things happen, you're like, well, we're on the right track. We're doing something worthwhile. So we're not going anywhere.
yeah, and we must be talking about the things that they don't want us to talk about, which is a little bit about what we're going to get into today. But today we're obviously talking about banana republics. And we're going to do a deep dive into banana republics. Has been a word that's been tossed around a lot lately in light of the US elections. So we thought it would be a good idea to look into the history of banana republics, some of the hallmarks and characteristics of what make up a banana republic, and then definitely get into this debacle with the US elections and a discussion on, is America a banana republic or will it become one? So,
Edge did a long thread on this about a year ago, so it's kind of good to refresh it and go through our mind. But there really is two dictionary meanings of Banana Republic. One is a small, poor country, often reliant on a single export or limited resource, governed by an authoritarian regime, and categorized by corruption and economic exploitation by foreign corporations conspiring with local government officials. And the second one, which is more that we can go into where we see America going, is any exploitative government that functions poorly for its citizenry while disproportionately benefiting a corrupt elite group or individual.
mm, yeah, we're going to get into all of that. So, yeah, I thought we would talk about the history of it because it's pretty interesting. I did do a thread on this a while back just because I really found the story of it to be pretty interesting. So, back in the early 1900s, this guy named Sam Zamuri, he began this lucrative business, and it was buying discarded, ripened bananas and selling them for real cheap all along the railway lines in New Orleans. And he was actually really successful at it, and he became known as Sam the Banana Man. But he made about $100,000 in that time, early 1900s. That was a lot of money. So he took that money and he went and bought himself a steamship and went down to Honduras. In 1910, he bought about 5,000 acres in Honduras along the Cayumal River. And so here's Sam Zamuri, Sam the Banana Man. And he went down to Honduras and started shipping crops of bananas from there. But he was afraid that the new business would be heavily taxed by the Honduras government. And so Zamuri got this idea to travel back to New Orleans, where the deposed president Bonilla lived in exile. And so Zamuri actually smuggled Bonilla back to Honduras along in this boat with a load of guns and hired mercenaries to do a coup. And the coup was successful. So that is Bonilla right there. And so, with Bonilla back in power, Zamuri's fruit company enjoyed the benefit of the low taxes and the land concessions. But Sam the Banana Man wasn't the only man in the banana business. And in fact, it was United Fruit Company that was the most powerful in South America. And so Zamuri actually sold his Cayamel Fruit Company to the rival United Fruit Company, and this was actually kind of during the Great Depression. And then later, Zamuri actually bought back. This is Zamuri here. He actually bought the United Fruit Company and became the president. Okay, so it was just this flip flop, and he was back in power and controlling a lot of this transport. But United Fruit Company, so they were like the most powerful in South America than any other company, and they were often accused of mistreating the citizens in these South American countries, and so the people would rise up against them because they were often accused of mistreatment, bribery of the government, working in coordination with the CIA. I mean, so the people would rise up, and these uprisings were known as the Banana Wars.
And because of their sort of tax deals and sort of breaks that they were getting from the government, none of this was really going back to the people.
No.
None of the money was going back to the people. So kind of what Caramel did is started to build the infrastructure in Honduras by their own dime. So railroads, any sort of transport, roads itself, any sort of infrastructure. So they started to build those things up, which was pretty much controlled by them, which did very little to really it helped the public in some way, but more than anything else, it helped them.
Right. And so the people did not like the imperialist, CIA-backed United Fruit Company that was uh, helping the corrupt government in power there in these South American countries. And in 1953, Zamuri he hired Edward Bernays to help him. And Edward Bernays, he's the nephew of Sigmund Freud. He's also known as the father of public relations, and he literally wrote a book called Propaganda. So he hires Edward Bernays to convince the American people in this PR campaign that the president of Guatemala, Jacobo Arbenz, he was opposed to the United Fruit Company, but the campaign was to convince the American public that this Arbenz was a communist threat. And that propaganda campaign was a success. And in 1954, the CIA actually did orchestrate a coup to overthrow the elected President Arbenz to install a puppet who provided policies more suitable for the United Fruit Company's interests. And so now you know the origins of why they call it a Banana Republic.
And Eisenhower had a bit of a hand in that as well, so don't understand that.
Yeah, actually they did. And then we have, through FOIA documents, we know now that the CIA was heavily involved in this. Hold on. So there's Alan Dulles and his brother John Foster Dulles. So then Secretary of State John Foster Dulles had a personal connection as his law firm represented the United Fruit Company. And his brother Alan Dulles was the director of the CIA, and he was a board member of the United Fruit Company. So they were personally invested in the United Fruit Company. The United Fruit Company was clearly a front for their operations. Okay. And as I said, we have some CIA documents talking about PB Success, which was the name of this operation, the CIA operation to overthrow our Benz in Guatemala and, install a puppet regime there. So, why is the CIA so heavily invested in United Fruit Company shipments to America? Do they really care about bananas that much?
Yeah, love bananas.
Oh, I love bananas too, but that's not what this is about. And I don't even think it's necessarily about overthrowing uh, governments for in order to defeat communism. Although they would argue that that's what they would say, but I think that really, when you look at South America in particular, the other kind of commodities that come out of South America, well, you've got what, heroin, cocaine. Um, so you could speculate that maybe this United Fruit Company was a cover for other commodities that were being shipped that the CIA was heavily invested in. What do you think about that?
Definitely. Um, it kind of goes into the same category as narco-run states, which we could do a whole podcast on its own. But definitely they overlap.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, we've seen instances where fruit transport ships were smuggling cocaine, and we caught them. So I think that that's really a lot of what was going on. In fact, we know that that was the case with the Contras. And, that's what the whole Iran-Contra affair was about. The CIA was involved in doing drug smuggling and gun running operations with that as well. So, um, yeah, here it is. CIA FOIA documents here on drug smuggling and the Contras. Let's just take a look at this real quick, if it will load. Do, 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 do. Play some elevator music. Oh, here we go.
Expect the CIA, expect the CIA website to not be running them.
So, yeah, startling information that indicates the American government got involved in smuggling drugs to supply the Nicaraguan Contras. That's right, drug smuggling organized by the CIA to support the Contras. Yeah, so I definitely think there's much more to it than bananas or even supporting pro-democratic uh, governments in these cases in these banana republics, right?
It's also no law of
Yeah,
control and power, and to dictate.
yeah. So going back to this United Fruit Company story, it gets even more interesting. So in 1970, um, this man named Eli Black, he was a businessman. He merged his conglomerate AMK with the United Fruit Company, and it took on this new name called United Brands. But soon as he merged with them, he discovered that the on the books money from United Fruit Company was way less than he thought. And that's probably because there was a lot more off the books money going on, as we just kind of talked about, with importing maybe other things. I don't know, but so in 1975, also here, United Fruit Company was known, as I'd mentioned, for bribing high up officials in the South American countries to run their operations. So after Black took over in 1975, the scandal broke that Black had authorized a $1.25 million bribe by the United Fruit Company to the Honduran president. But just a few weeks before this news broke, Eli Black fell to his death from the 44th floor of the Pan Am building in Manhattan.
Well, quote, apparently suicide.
Yeah,
We'll quote that.
he got suicided.
We we know how these things turn out.
Yes, we do. And it gets even more interesting
If
when you
if
find
if
out.
someone if someone randomly jumps out the window, you probably should question
Yeah, exactly.
it, especially when they're leaders or of these big companies.
And that are connected to or are fronts for the CIA, right? So,
Anything to do with that.
yeah. So Eli Black had a son, and guess who his son is? Leon Black. So Leon Black, he is a businessman. He's an art collector. He runs the Apollo Global Management firm. He's also the chairman at the Museum of Modern Art. But most notably, Leon Black is real close, or was real close, with Epstein. And the two had some really strong financial ties. Epstein was the director of Leon Black's Family Foundation, and there were some other really strong financial connections there between them. In fact, I know that Leon Black is currently under subpoena for his connections with Epstein and all of that. So um, it's very interesting the connections there. It seems like some of these CIA connections kind of get passed down, don't they?
Yeah, it's crazy that you can go back, you know, 100 years, like we've gone back with the United Fruit Company, because they really did pop up at the turn of the century, um, and you can connect it to modern day criminals and pedophiles and these lineages and friendships, if that's what you can call them, business dealings, partnerships, stretch hundreds of years.
Yeah, they keep it all in the family, don't they?
Family, or as you can say, group.
Right. So it seems like the CIA and this deep state have been involved in many coups in South America and other places in the world, doesn't it?
100%.
Yeah. So we should draw some comparisons to the attempted coups in America. And um, I thought we would just kind of fast forward, bring it to recent history and up to today. We had an attempted coup in 2016 when Trump was elected, and it was to overthrow Trump's election. They thought they could use the hammer to sway the election for Hillary. That didn't work. For some reason, there was some kind of intervention that did not allow that to work. The coup continued for 4 years. They used the hammer to unmask and spy on Trump and his team, including General Flynn, and that coup continued all the way through to the impeachment hoax. And we're currently witnessing the coup continue to this day with their use of the hammer, scorecard, Dominion to try and steal this election for Biden. And this has been a 4 year long attempted coup, and they're trying to basically cover up what they were doing for years under the Obama administration, which was the illegal spying on Americans and throwing elections with hammer. And so the question is America a banana republic? So tell me your thoughts on all of that.
Um, Once again, it's there's different meanings to Banana Republic, like I stated at the start, but I definitely believe in the second meaning, which is any exploitative government that functions poorly for its citizenry and disproportionately benefiting a corrupt elite group of individuals. Now, I think America has been going that way for a long time. It has been fooling, and especially the left likes to fool that they are for the people. And we know that's not the case when you start seeing billions of dollars that get funneled into states and cities like, let's take Baltimore, for example. 10, $15 billion have gone into that city over, 10, 15, 20 years period. And look at it, right?
Right.
It's not going to the populace at all. It's going into the pockets of whoever are making these deals or whoever signing it up, or government elected officials, mayors. and we can see that. So in that case, yes, I believe uh, America is a banana republic, or it definitely has a definitely look of a banana republic, and we also see in banana republics is the weaponization and the allegiance between high government officials, lieutenants, colonels, mayors, to carry out vendettas against political enemies.
Right. We definitely have two versions of America happening simultaneously. It's the MAGA group that is pro-Trump, and then we have all of the old guard. And I definitely think that under the Obama administration, it could be qualified as a banana republic. And what we've seen for the past 4 years is this war between those two factions, the MAGA uh, people and then the deep state battling it out. And it's
Well,
really up in the air as to who is going to win. I truly do believe that Trump will win and that we've got them. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that and show some evidence of that. But I think that we will know soon enough if America is in fact a banana republic, if Biden does become officially the president after stealing the election, then I would say yes. At this point, I feel comfortable in saying that I don't think that's going to happen. I think we've got him. I think we caught him. So,
but going back onto the banana republic thing, um, there's definitely been government officials and, like I said, mayors and presidents that have been selling off bits of America to overseas corporations for years now.
yeah, I mean, just look at Biden's laptop. Okay.
Exactly.
The multi-billion dollar deals that were done, and you want to look at China just in particular. We completely sold out to China, and China compromised so many politicians and people in Hollywood through the Bidens, using them as a hub for compromising. And, we're talking billions of dollars paid for them to have access and control. And if Biden were to take on the presidency, that's what we would expect. We would be puppets for China
Hmm.
and
Oh,
others,
we,
whoever
we,
else Joe Biden's indebted to.
we've been puppets. Well, the US has been puppets to foreign nations before, but maybe not just to a full degree.
Hmm.
But during the Obama administration, there were, America was forking out money like left, right, and center. Well, look at Iran, for example. You got pallets of cash going there, right? It was, they were pretty much selling off. It was a fire sale.
Yeah, yeah. And then you want to look at, say, for Ukraine, for example, the $1.5 billion. So the U.S. aid is has a lot to do with this too, of siphoning off American taxpayer dollars to go into these coffers of corrupt individuals with kickbacks to people here and that were in the Obama administration, Biden, Hunter, and others. Soros involved, many people involved in this scheme. And we're talking billions of dollars stolen from American hardworking taxpayer dollars. So yes, I think that there are a lot of characteristics, but I'm not quite ready to call us a banana republic. I think that the jury is still out because the American people are just now really starting to see this in all of its ugliness. And once we wake up to this, I don't think that American people will accept this. It will be a a moment in history where the American people will have to take a stand.
Well, you're already seeing it. You're already seeing, over 71 million people that are pissed off that are seeing what's happening here. that have noticed the disparity with this election, that have noticed the irregularities in it. Um, and, but what you are witnessing is, because you've had no other opponent that has really fought this hard to unmask this sort of fraud. And I'm sure it's happened before, but I'm sure also a lot of those people were in hand with a lot of things. Like, I mean, look at Al Gore and Bush, for example. I mean, they definitely wanted Bush more than they wanted Al Gore. And it wouldn't surprise me if they gave Al Gore a few million to shut up, because you can tell now that, he's speaking for the deep state himself. He's pushing this climate fear. He's done it from the start.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's always been this uniparty, to where whoever won, we still lost until Trump came along. Well, you could argue there have been a few others in the past, and I would agree. But for a very long time, it's been a uniparty to where whoever won, we still lost. And I
Exactly. This is not a left v right thing. Like, not at all.
and I think America is starting to wake up to that, even though it's been going on for many years. But we finally got a glimpse of what it's like to have a free and fair election. I think that in 2016, when Hillary lost, they were absolutely shocked. We talked about this a little bit I think in the last podcast. But yeah, Hillary was absolutely shocked when that happened because, for so long that they had control of these elections, and they weren't worried about it at all. It was a certainty, and so to actually not have their ace in the hole, which was the hammer and the scorecard, that probably shocked them. And this time around, they probably thought they got away with it. I think they were very sloppy, and we're starting to catch up and figure out their game. And I think we actually have it all. And I'm going to show you some things, but first, real quick, I want to talk about. Um, so the people who would like to call us banana republics are not the kind of people that that we should be aligning ourselves with. It's, like, say, for example, Maduro in Venezuela laughing about our elections and the chaos that's going on. And Ayatollah uh, Khamenei, they're just reveling in this post-election chaos, aren't they?
Oh, they love it.
Yeah.
They love it. Well, because they know they know what's what. They're not silly. They know exactly what's being played out, and they know exactly what fraud has been committed, because half of them do it themselves.
Yes. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of these guys, particularly with Iran, are to some degree aware of what's going on the back end behind the scenes, and involved in some of these actions. But I wanted to talk about some of these firings that we've had a lot lately and how these are evidence that really the tide is turning and we're going on offense. So the first one is Brian Ware. This guy is over at Cybersecurity and Infrastructure, CISA. He's over there, and he just resigned, I believe, this week. So this is and forced resignation, actually. So, and there are going to be many others that come. And then we've seen several shakeups in the Department of Defense as well. But this is the first sign here that, this old guard is being taken down, and loyalists to the MAGA movement, to Trump, to the people, are being put in these key positions that protecting cybersecurity, and also the kind of people who are going to acknowledge the existence of the hammer and scorecard and its use to overthrow our election systems. And another key individual that I wanted to talk about is this guy, Chris Kleb. Chris Krebs, he's actually the top US cybersecurity official. And he's the one who has informed everybody, including the Georgia officials in charge of the ballot audit that's currently happening right now, that hammer and scorecard is nonsense. It's a hoax. All right. but he is expected to be one of the next ones to be out of DHS, cyber agency. So that to me tells me that we're cleaning this up. We're removing the people that we knew all along were deep state, and we're covering for the Hammer and for Scorecard and for their actions. We're putting in people who are going to be ready to expose it. And here's another piece of evidence I think that's pretty compelling to me about these moves is that Ezra Cohen Watnick has been put into the position as like this top Defense Department official in intelligence. And what's important to remember about Ezra Cohen Watnick is that in the early stages of the Trump administration, Ezra was working as an aide to General Flynn as the national security advisor. Ezra was the one who discovered the massive amounts of unmasking of Americans that the CIA under Brennan was doing with Hammer. So they were using Hammer, they were unmasking hundreds of thousands of people in America, not with FISA warrants, nothing. And so Ezra uncovered a lot of this in the early stages. And it wasn't just about General Flynn. So Ezra should know quite a lot about the Hammer and its uses and what they were doing with it, and how this coup that started in 2016 and is continuing today is completely 100% all about covering up their illegal spying on Americans using the Hammer. So I think that when you see someone like Ezra Cohen Watnick being put into this position in the Defense Department, that is signaling to me that they're prepared to now go on offense against these deep staters who have been attempting a coup for 4 years now and get ready to expose it. And I think because I was kind of on the fence about whether or not this whole thing was just incompetence or whether or not this was all there was a plan in place. And I'm starting to think that there was a plan in place for this entire US election, knowing that they were going to attempt major, major voter fraud and cyber warfare and attacking the integrity of our election system. What do you think?
Um, I hope so, because if there wasn't, I don't know if I could accept that sort of lack of foresight. So I definitely hope there's a lot of things coming up which is seeming positive towards that goal, definitely.
Yeah, and the other thing to start really looking and paying attention to, not only these firings and putting key people into those positions and who those people are, what their backgrounds are. That's where you read the between the lines, read the tea leaves, so to speak, on where this is all going, but also to really watch closely those lawsuits, particularly in Michigan and Pennsylvania. But I think that what Rudy Giuliani has said is that they're going to be doing probably about 10 lawsuits in different states. And that may actually end up expanding, considering that Dominion was used in 30 states. It depends on what they see and find in the discovery process and how much that expands. But I think that a lot will be uncovered through the discovery process. With Hammer, Sidney Powell is the attorney for General Flynn, who knows all about the Hammer because they used it on him. And she is a key attorney for the Trump campaign, as well as Giuliani, who's aware of this as well. So I think we need to watch out how things play out in the court through the discovery process. Watch that closely, and we'll get a good idea of where this is going. If it's going to expose, really, starting from the origin of the coup, which happened in 2016, in order to cover up what they were doing with the Hammer. So I do think that right now what we are watching is the greatest crime against America that's ever occurred, and it's treason at the highest sense of the word. What do you think?
Oh, that's no doubt. No doubt what we're seeing now is the largest coup ever been perpetuated on the American public, and maybe even the globe. It's so bad and it's so blatant and obvious. So,
Yeah. And you have to understand that it was Brennan and Clapper who were behind the hammer from the beginning. You know, Obama, Biden, Hillary, Comey, Rice, they all were part of it. And this is
it,
this
should we explain to the people what the hammer is? Because you've mentioned it a lot, and I'm not sure if anyone's
okay.
knows exactly what it is.
Sure. So the hammer was a surveillance computer system that was developed in the early 2000s under Brennan, and also Clapper was involved. And they were using it originally to surveil terrorists. It was only supposed to be used on terrorists and terrorist cells. And then they started using it right after Obama took office. They pulled it out of the CIA and moved it into a private uh, location. And so they started using it at that point, not just to go after terrorists, but to turn it on American citizens, particularly political opponents. And so they were pulling bank records, they were pulling phone records, they were listening on calls, getting transcripts of calls, all kinds of information on American citizens. And this was without warrants, without FISA warrants. And it was completely illegal spying on American citizens under
We,
Brendan Clapper. And they used it in 2016 against Trump and his campaign.
yeah, which goes back to being used against citizens here, which is going back to another main facet of a banana republic, is taking advantage of their citizenry in the benefit of themselves.
Yes. Then they started using it in elections. They used it in Florida. They used it also against Bernie Sanders, against Mitt Romney, because they had so the hammer is a like a computer system that is capable, very very high powerful system, and it is capable of doing many functions. And one of those functions is a software called Scorecard, which was created just recently, according to General McInerney and others. And this application of the hammer specifically helps them to change election results, and that is by at the going into the computer system after the votes have been entered and changing the numbers to bump up the preferred candidate around 3%, with a 3% lead. And it's not too much to where it's conspicuous, but just to where it's a win for them. And this is all according to General McInerney, the scorecard information. But the hammer, there are actually several sources on how that has been used for years for surveillance and actually was turned on American citizens to spy.
Boom.
Yeah, so, but this is the deep state. This is the coup. This is the shadow government. And I do believe they're going down. You know, they made some huge mistakes. And we just need to watch this play out.
We also really want to know down below what you think, and if you think America is a banana republic or will become a banana republic. And so definitely drop some messages down there and let us know that.
Yeah, definitely interested to hear your thoughts on this. And I am just keeping my eyes open on all of these firings. I'm keeping my eyes open on court cases and definitely keeping my eyes open on investigations like Durham. So let's just be patient, watch it play out, stand your ground. We're going to win this, I truly believe. And we will not allow this great nation to become a banana republic. All right? Well,
Ready to finish it up.
thanks for listening to us today here on Hive Mind with Speaker and Edge. Please be sure to share this podcast. We'll see you back next time, right here on Hive Mind.